So let's be real here. You're talented, you're incredibly smart, you're really good at what you do in your business, but you're frustrated with the idea that your bank account is giving you struggle vibes instead of feeling really secure and really confident. If you can relate to that, we need to talk for a minute. My name is Malla Haridat, and I'm a business coach and speaker, and I help entrepreneurs uncover what they don't know that they don't know about running successful businesses. And for a number of years, one of the things that I've been super focused on is how do we get more sales? But here's the key. This is not you need to feel like you're going to do some slimy, crazy sales tactic that's going to totally blow all your friendships. You're going to feel really icky after making the ask. You're not going to feel really comfortable. This is about thinking really thoughtfully, strategically, and setting forth something in your business that's going to change the game forever with your revenue. And I want to go there so far as to say that one of the common themes that I've heard a lot from people that want to see more sales coming into their business is that they're not closing enough clients. They're not getting enough future clients saying, yes, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And I'm going to make a bold claim. I don't think it has to do with your website, right? I've seen a number of successful entrepreneurs have really bad looking websites actually. So it's not necessarily about you adding something else extra to your website. It's not about making sure you have this fabulous funnel that you heard is the latest, newest, greatest funnel you need to have. It could help. I'm not going to discount that, but you don't have to necessarily do that. And I'm going to go really far out there and say, it's not just about you making sure your social media feed looks amazing, gorgeous, and wonderful. Now, there's some huge benefits out there to having some really good social media. It's going to help your marketing, but that's not necessarily what's going to improve your bank account necessarily. And then I hope that I don't step on your toes on this one, and I just might, and that's okay. I'm also going to go so far as to say that for many of you, I don't think it's about the talent you have in the service that you're offering within your company. Now, listen, I'm all for you learning more. I'm all for you getting educated and going to, events and going to conferences and things like that. But I don't think your fourth and fifth degree is necessarily going to improve your talent or your skill in your field, AKA you're then going to automatically make more money. I'm going to tell you what I think that it is, because I've seen this happen way too often. It's you don't have a sales system. That's it, y'all. This is about you having a sales system in your business, because far too many entrepreneurs have been given education about the legal structure, how to set up their books, how to get their marketing started, who they're targeting. All those things are important, but they haven't been taught about sales. And that's exactly why I created the free sales system starter kit. You can see the link below this video so that you can get access to a tool that is off the chain amazing, that's going to get you started on creating not just a one-time sale, but how you duplicate consistent sales in your company on a regular basis. So listen, before we dive in, if you want to go ahead and grab that link below, I ain't going to be mad at you, because I'm here for people building consistent revenue without working harder. And there are some steps that you can use to get started with that. Now, if you're wondering, okay, I need to know a little bit more about this, Maya. Like, this just seems a little too good to be true. Let me share with you a few stories of how I've helped people use these tools and how you can actually get started from hearing their stories and hearing their examples. So I've seen this over and over again. I speak regularly to entrepreneurs. I have a group coaching program, and I work with a lot of clients on helping them create their own sales plans and actually execute on them and make things kind of show up consistently in their business, seeing that money come in consistently. So let me give you an example of one of the people that I've worked with in this work, right? And I see this happen all the time. So I'm going to reference one person, but the truth is I've done it myself, right? This one woman was relying 100% on referrals. And what would happen is that during certain times of the year, people really, 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 really needed her service. And so all she had to do was just kind of be where she was and then just depend 100% on referrals, and she was good to go. And then there were these other times where she was just stuck, just praying, wishing anybody would come in and be able to work with her, because she didn't have a way of kind of getting a sense of knowing exactly when new people were going to come in. But once we set up a sales system for her, things started changing. She went from doing this like prayer method around sales to having consistency around sales. And that's the power of setting up your own sales system. I remember the first time I used to go to hairstylists for years when I was younger. And so many of them, it was just walk in. You would just walk in, get your hair done, and kind of keep it moving. I remember the first time that I went into one of those walk-in stylists that she started collecting my information. She just got my email. And then when she left that salon, she emailed all of us to let us know, hey, I'm moving over to this other salon. Now, it seems simple in the moment. It's like, yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. But she was doing it at a time when people weren't really thinking that way. And I think that's a perfect example of a sales system. It is creating a system in your business. Now, not every business is going to work like that. I just want to put that out there for the record. That's just one of many examples. But it's thinking about, how am I not going to live off of referrals? What does that actually look like? How could I think about this in a very different way, right? Here's another example of a client that created a sales system in her company and really changed the game for herself. This client really always thought she was bad with sales. As a matter of fact, I heard this from another coaching client recently. She was like, Maya, I'm just not good at sales like you are. You're like really good. You're really aggressive about it. And, as I'm sitting there, like trying to drink my coffee and get myself up and going and feeling good about the morning and whatever, I just busted out laughing at the call because I'm like, I'm not really that good with sales. I just have a system that I work, right? And I think that's the misnomer. A lot of people think that you have to, feel pushy, or you've got to like, constantly be like bothering people like a used car salesman type of things. And this particular client, right? I got her to recognize she could be bad at sales, right? But there's a way of how she could do things where we set up a very simple weekly rhythm around how many people she was going to educate. So the way that she liked to be able to sell was to educate her clients. She doesn't want to beat them over the head, buy, 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 buy. But we set up a number of people that she had to educate every week. And then we came up with a script for her that fit her prospective clients, how she likes to be able to connect. And she was able to land one of her biggest clients by doing that. And this is somebody who felt like sales is this really pushy thing. It's really uncomfortable, awkward. And how am I going to be able to do this? So listen, I don't believe in chasing vanity metrics. I don't like my clients going after and chasing vanity metrics. Now we can chase checks, but we don't chase vanity metrics. So this is not about just giving you some extra things to be able to do in your life. This is not about flexing with like, oh my gosh, look at this, how big this check is. This check that you can only get one time, but you can't duplicate again and again and again. This is about you thinking about your business, of how you're going to make money consistently, how you're going to keep those bills paid consistently. And here's the key that I want for anyone watching this video. I want you to feel in control of your business. When you have a sales system, you get to take more control back in your business. And the irony of all ironies is, when you've got a system in place, you're going to actually be better positioned to then be able to spend more of the time doing the delivery and doing more of the things and the more of the parts of the business that you actually enjoy. But you've got to have a system. So listen, I want to break down for you the mistakes that I see commonly happen when people don't have sales systems, because these might be some of the mistakes that you're making. And if you can start to call these out for yourself, if you can start to see them showing up, if you can start to identify when they're starting to happen, that's going to be your game changer. And I also know that if you sit down and you go through the sales system kit that I've got for you, this is going to help you think through the steps in a very different way and start thinking about how you're going to get more consistent revenue coming in. And again, we don't do pushy, we don't do slimy, we definitely don't do unethical up in these parts. Okay. I don't do none of that nonsense. I sleep real darn good at night. So hear me out on some of these mistakes that might be showing up in your world. All right. So the first one is if you're confusing marketing with sales. Now, from a technical point of view, marketing is creating awareness and visibility about your products or services, and sales is actually collecting the money for it. It's converting someone to say yes. Here's the deal. Marketing and sales can get kind of tricky and kind of confusing and overlap. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here, and I don't want to get technical, but you need to do both, okay? You need to have awareness and visibility. People need to know that you exist, that you're out there, but then you also have to ask for the sale. And here's one of the things that people often do is they think, well, as long as I'm visible, as long as I'm out there, as long as I'm present, then I'm going to get the sale. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. You've got to make sure that you're creating different opportunities, different ways for either someone to say, hey, I want to work with you, or if you know a group of people are trying to pick from different service providers, they understand why they're going to work with you and what that process looks like to be able to engage. So let me give you an example of this. So I can recall, several years ago, I was on a New York City subway, and I was looking up, and this subway just had one company that was advertising on the subway. All the cars just had this one ad on there, and it got on my nerves. Like, I don't like going on the subway. I ride them all the time. I don't like going up there and seeing this one ad. I like to see multiple ads. But it did something really interesting. It was introducing a brand new company that at the time that I'd never heard of before. And by me being only able to see this ad, and if you've never taken public transportation, you don't know how boring it is until you've done it, right? If you drive in a car on a regular basis, public transportation, you are forced to see the ad. You have no choice but to look at the ad. And I always remember that ad because 2 years later down the road, I needed that service. And I didn't know at the time when I first saw that ad that I was going to need that service. But 2 years down the road, I needed that service. And here's the kicker. The company at the time was sending out postcard mailings to just everyone within certain zip codes. Because they had marketed to me first and I was aware of the company and I knew that they were there, then when they sent me a postcard in the mail to say, hey, take 10% off the first order, that was the sale. And that's how they were able to close me with, one, with creating visibility and awareness about the product, and then two, being able to say, hey, here's how you work with us. And in their case, they were giving me a discount because they knew that if I got and worked with them once, that I would be a customer with them for a while. And actually, their 10% off discount was actually phenomenal because I've been a customer of theirs now 5-6 years probably when it's all said and done. Don't confuse marketing with sales. You've got to ask people to be able to purchase from you. You've got to find ways that you're making sure that they know why they want to work with you, aka the awareness and visibility. And then there is a path on how they connect the dot to actually make the sale. So for some of you that may be having multiple conversations, it may be in person, it may be over social media, it may be via email. For a lot of you, it's the follow-ups. And that's a whole nother conversation. And definitely I have videos on follow-ups. I'm going to do more videos on follow-ups because if y'all just did follow-ups, okay, just follow-ups every month, you could change your whole sales, your everything, your trajectory, your revenue, your numbers, everything if you just started focusing on follow-ups. So please don't make this mistake moving forward. There is marketing that you need to do in your business and there is sales. Don't confuse them for the same thing. And there are different tactics and techniques that are going to help you be successful with both. And you can do it, right? I personally am a huge believer that you don't even have to be good at marketing to be good at sales, right? And I'm going to tell you why. Because you're going to learn about mistake number two. Mistake number two is that for a lot of people equate referrals as having sales in your business. Listen, I'm all here for a referral. When I have a coaching client that's being referring another prospective client to me, are you kidding me? Bring it, because we're going to work really well together. That person knows me. I know them. It's a really easy referral. I just recently had this happen in my own life. I was looking for a new hairstylist. My old hairstylist moved, bless her heart. I don't know why. I'm like scrambling, trying to find, I'm going through all the Google reviews. And then a good friend of mine who is super fussy about her hair, also has all the curls and keeps it looking amazing, right? Gave me the referral for who she goes to herself. Well, for this company, like, this is a no-brainer. They didn't have to spend a dime on getting a customer who was also going to walk in the door and spend good money because the referral is what sold me on wanting to work with the business. But here's the deal. You cannot build a business on referrals. Well, you can, and there are companies that do, but do you really want to rely on referrals only? Because at some point, those referrals may dry up. And I'll give you this example. Referrals in your company where that's the only strategy you have for sales is actually akin to you saying you want to be a millionaire or a billionaire these days, right? You want to be a millionaire and you're going to do it by being able to go out and buy lottery tickets. Good luck with that. Let me know how that works. So I am not discounting the power of referrals. And I do think that part of your sales system should be, how do you work with referrals? How do you increase the number of referrals? How do you increase the quality of the referrals? You know, my favorite example for my service providers that do these really high quality types of projects, they're always getting referrals and you're like, oh my God, people just don't understand. I don't want to work with them if they do blah, 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 right? So you may want to do some work on increasing the quality of your referrals, but you don't want to rely on referrals only. Create a system that brings more people in to your world that's not relying on just referrals, okay? And then this is the final one, and this is a big one. And look, I know it ain't a fun one, but it's a powerful one when you get it. Mistake number 3 that people make that keeps them from closing and getting more clients is they are not tracking their actions. And I'm going to tell you how I often see this show up. I have spoken to clients, I've spoken to workshop attendees. I can't tell you how many times where they do this pattern. And heck, I've done it myself. You go to an event or you go to a workshop that's teaching you the latest, greatest, newest technique on whatever, right? And you're like, oh, I'm going to buy the tool. I'm going to get the thing. I'm going to like do all the things. And then you follow it for like a week because that's all you can remember. You don't write anything down. You don't track any of your numbers down whatsoever. And after a week, you're like, that thing didn't really work. Maybe it did. You didn't bother to start tracking it and you didn't give it enough time. And then what happens is that then you forget that thing, you put it to the side, a whole nother program or a whole nother event or a whole nother coach comes out with their greatest, latest formula, blah, 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 blah. And then you do the same thing again. You go and you work with it. And I'll even give you credit this time and say, oh yeah, I'm going to work with this for a month. I'm going to do this for an entire month, Maya. By the way, I'm talking about myself right now. I'm not even shaming anybody else because I've done it and I've been guilty with all of you out here. Okay. So I am not shaming anyone, but you don't track what you do. I remember when I started working with people on their sales calls, and I would talk to them about what they said and the order of what they said, or how many they tracked of this type of call or that type of call, or my personal favorite one, the follow-ups. For a lot of you right now, you don't even have to do anything with your marketing. You just got to follow up. If somebody sees you at an event, do you have a way of following up with them? Are you tracking your follow-ups? Are you tracking the number of people who say, yeah, I'm not interested today, but next month you sell cupcakes, but next month my cousin's birthday is going to go on and I might be looking for some cupcakes next month. Do you have a system set up in place that you can actually make sure to automate that email next month? And then even better, oh, yeah, no, I already got somebody for next month, but next year when we do blah, 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 I'm going to need yada, yada, yada. You got to track your actions. That right there. I just dropped seriously like $1 million worth of revenue in your laps right there. If you just started tracking your follow-ups alone. And don't get me started on tracking your actions in general. It's not about you coming out the gate and doing this phenomenally. It's just about tracking what you're doing. How many pitches, if you have a business that you work with people one-on-one, how many times did you ask somebody to be able to buy from you? How many pitches did you make? For those of you that are service-based businesses, you do like large contracts, you have to send out proposals. How many proposals did you send out this quarter, right? And look, even if it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, there's something still you're going to learn by tracking your actions that you won't learn if you just hope and pray that somebody comes in and says, yes, they want to work with you. I mean, if you look at large companies, CEOs, they're obsessed with their numbers, and there's a reason for that. This is not about flying blind and like hoping and praying that you make money. You want consistent cash. You got to be consistent about tracking your actions. So listen, I hope you walked away here with a couple of ideas, a few examples and stories of how people are able to close and get more customers. You don't have to be this fancy salesperson. You really don't. You don't have to be like amazing at sales and like have all the charisma and do all the things and the bells and whistles. I have actually probably had some of my best sales closes in my own company when I've been tired, when I've been like not thinking about it. Like I remember, closing a coaching client one time. I was, out in the public and I was shopping. Right. And the person came up to me, oh my gosh, I'd seen your social media ad and, I know you from blah, 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 whatever. I'd love to. And I'm like, okay, wonderful. But I had a system so that even though that person caught me off guard, even in that moment, and I wasn't really thinking about being on and making money, that I could easily get their information, connect with them. And then when I am ready, have a way of being able to follow up with them. It's not about being perfect. You don't have to DM a whole bunch of strangers or send out 6,000 cold emails or spend countless dollar amounts on ads to necessarily get the type of sales you need in your company. Some of you might need to do some of those things, but I would counter that for most of you. If you create a sales system, something that runs in the background, something that stays on so that you stop building your business based upon prayer, vibes, and hopes, you will totally change the game. You're not going to feel overly stressed out. You're going to, see your calendar booked out. For those of you that depend upon a calendar, you're not going to be stressing over, oh my God, I hope they call me. I hope they call me. You're actually going to have way more control and more confidence about knowing where your next client is coming from. And listen, for those of you that are in this space where you fall in the underestimated category, right? You have different identities that you bring to the table that the world goes out of their way to constantly make sure that your life is difficult. I want to emphasize the sales system matters even more so because you're probably taking on additional responsibilities like caregiving or looking out for your community or village. You don't have time to be wasting around trying to figure out the thing that's going to work, or the thing that, that person over there who's got somebody, paying their rent and all that other stuff going on. You ain't like that. So I think the sales system is even more powerful and even more important for you. And look, all you got to do is, you don't have to build this thing from scratch. I put together this sales system kit. It's some of the same tools and same conversations that I have with my private coaching clients. And for the record, I do a lot of work with them, but this is just one snippet, one snapshot of an area that if you actually sit down and go through the worksheets, you go through some of the questions that are in there, it's going to help you start building consistency in less than an hour. So listen, don't be shy about this. Go ahead underneath this video, click the link so that you can get the download for yourself and get started, because I really want to be able to see you feeling grown up in your business. I want to see you having that predictable and profitable income coming in. And this is where you start. It's not being the most amazing salesperson ever. It's just being able to grab the link, click the link below and grab your copy and take action and execute on the ideas in your sales system. All right. Have an amazing one, y'all.